I hope you're having an amazing day. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. If you're new here, then welcome. My name's Olivia. I'm so excited to have you. I really appreciate you stopping by and I can't wait to tell you all about my big news. I'm out of breath now because I'm pregnant and I'm talking a lot. So as you could probably tell by the title of this video, today's video is going to be all about how I found out that I'm pregnant. I figured it would be fun to do like a story time video. One, because I really want to just like record everything I can during this pregnancy. It's my first pregnancy. I'm so excited for it and I really just want to have like everything documented. That way I can look back on it and watch this stuff later. But also I figured it would be fun for you guys in case any of you guys are curious about like just my story and like if we were trying and all that good stuff. All those typical questions that you first get when you say you're pregnant and people are like, were you trying? Did you expect it? Was it a surprise? We will go over all of that today. So like I said, as it's very clear by now, I guess, I am pregnant. I'm about 14 and a half weeks currently. By the time you guys are seeing this, I'll probably be right about 15 weeks pregnant. I am really loving it so far. I'm just like so ecstatic and surprised and just still a little bit in shock. I just can't believe I am making a little baby inside of me. It's really, really cool. But going back to kind of like, were we trying? Was it on our mind? Things like that. We were. So my husband and I have been married for about 4.5 years now. We've been together for almost 10. We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary. We got together when I was like at the end of high school. And we always, it's so funny because when I was growing up, we're from a very, very small town. I'm scatterbrained, I'm sorry guys, pregnancy brain. But we're from a very, very small town, and in that town, people usually like, they get married young, they have kids young, they buy a house young, they settle down right away. And we currently live in California, and so we moved to California 4 years ago. And when we moved out here, we learned that that is not the way people do things here. People here wait to settle down. We got married when I was 22 and my husband was 25. I'm taking you guys like way back now, but we got married when I was 22 and my husband was 25, and out here people wait till they're, I don't know, older. Like it was like strange to people that we met that we were married so young, and it seems like people wait to have kids for a while as well. So long story short, I always envisioned myself having children at like 25 exactly. I don't know why, that's just the magic number, that's what I wanted. And then when I hit 25, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready yet, so I'm gonna push it off a little bit. And then when I hit 26, I was like, yeah, I don't think so. And at 27 still, I wasn't ready. But then this year, like, I don't know, something changed. We've been out here for a while. We are definitely settled. We don't have family of our own out here, and I really wanted to start my own family. We both did, and we really just wanted to like take that next step. And so we were trying. I'm gonna get into like a little bit of the nitty gritty because when we were trying and when I was researching pregnancy videos and just how to get pregnant and things like that, I wanted to hear the like basics. I wanted to hear how to do it, and I am a planner and I wanted that result. So anyways, I went off birth control in June, and so you may have noticed on my channel, I kind of took a little bit of a hiatus. Like, not gonna lie, I just kind of got a little burned out. And I was like, you know, I want to focus on family. I want to focus on starting a family, things like that. So I spent the summer doing that. And you know, I went off birth control and we tried, like, and by try, I mean, we really tried. Like, I tracked my ovulation. There are several apps I use that I would definitely recommend. I tracked ovulation. I used the sticks, like everything. It took about 2 months of doing that for it to finally happen, but it did. And I'm so glad it did. Like, obviously it was something that I really wanted so bad. By the time that we both kind of got on board with the idea of having a baby and we both decided we wanted to, we were ready. So like I said, I went off birth control in June, and I have been on birth control my entire life. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I went on it really young. I've been on it for like 10 years. My body just responded positively to it. It's always been really easy on me. And so I stayed on it, and I was a little worried going off of it. Like, I thought, when I go off birth control, it's gonna be really hard to get pregnant because I've been on it for so long. And people tell you that the longer you're on birth control, the harder it makes. And that may be true for some people. But from my research, from everything I read, it said that, you know, it actually doesn't really matter. It gets out of your system in a few days, and then it's really just about timing and your body. And if you've tried to get pregnant before, or you just track your cycles and your ovulation and things like that, you know that there's actually only a few days each month that you can get pregnant. So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, so I got like the ovulation sticks. The way I would do it is I would use the apps that I had. There were several of them that I used. And let me know if you want to know what they are, but I would use the apps to like predict my ovulation, and then when it got closer, I would use the sticks to tell me like exactly when I was ovulating. So when we first started trying, I really wanted it to happen like right away. I am not a very patient person all the time. Like I try and be, but I'm a planner also, and I wanted it right away. And so this summer, I remember in July, we had been trying for like a month, and I really got it in my head like, okay, I feel like I'm gonna get pregnant. I feel like this first month is gonna be it. I feel like it's gonna be easier than I thought. And I was just like, I have a good feeling about this. And it didn't happen. And I was like shocked, and I was upset, and I was super down. And I remember feeling so, it's not a good feeling when you're trying to get pregnant and you can't. And you're just like, why is this not happening? And I was so sad. And so a friend of mine gave me the advice that like, you know what, just let it go. Like this baby is meant to come when it comes. Whenever you do have the baby, he or she was meant to come at that moment, on that day, at that time in your life. So like, let it go. Like, let it go, leave it up to God, leave it up to the universe, and it will work out, and just trust in the bigger power. And so I did. And I've been given that advice before, and it always works. And so I just let it go. And for one thing too, I think my body was like tensing up. Like your body knows when you're trying too hard and when you are stressing out about it, and it's like if you're focusing on it too much, it's not gonna happen. So as soon as I stopped focusing on it and I just stopped stressing out about it, we got pregnant. So on to the story. I've been rambling a lot now as far as like were we trying and all that stuff. So on to the story about how we actually found out, because that's why you guys are here, right? So like I said, I'm about 14 and a half weeks pregnant, and we found out when I was 4 weeks pregnant, because I'm such like an on the dot type of person. I was planning it and tracking it and all that good stuff. So when my missed period was about to come, I was like, all right, is it happening? The way we found out though was that I actually went to Atlanta for the weekend to visit my sister-in-law and our best friend and have a girls trip out in Atlanta. We went there just for the weekend. We saw some other friends that lived there, and it was like such a fun time, and it was awesome. But I was also slightly anxious because I knew my period was due to come that weekend. Like I knew that I was supposed to get my period while we were in Atlanta. And so for one, I'm thinking like, ugh, I'm gonna get my period while we're on this trip, but also, what if I could be pregnant? Was in the back of my head. And I was trying not to let myself think that too much because I didn't want to get my hopes up, but it was like way in the back of my head. So a couple days went by, I didn't get it. Then the day that my period was supposed to come, it didn't, and I was like, all right, that's normal. I was a day late, and then I was thinking like, okay, that's normal, because when I thought I was gonna get pregnant in July, I was also a day late on my period, and it ended up coming. And back in July when I thought I was pregnant, I was a day late on my period, and I actually took a test and found out I wasn't pregnant, and then had to wait for my period to come. So that was like a disappointing feeling, and I didn't want to do that again. So in Atlanta, when I was a day late, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like let myself not even think about it. Then Hurricane Harvey came, and my sister and I actually ended up splitting up just because she had family in Atlanta that she wanted to see. My dad was up there visiting my aunt, and I wanted to see them. So we both kind of branched out to see our own sides of the family. So I was with my dad and my family, and Hurricane Harvey was hitting, and it was so sad and so stressful, and I think that's, you know, obviously something that would make anybody emotional. But my flight got delayed or canceled, actually. My flight home got canceled, and the way that my emotions took a toll on me were not in a way that have ever happened before. Like, I'm an emotional person. I'm a Cancer, and I, you know, get stressed and I get sad and I take things personally sometimes. But when my flight got canceled and we were trying to arrange plans, and my sister-in-law and I were trying to figure out ways to meet back up and if we get a chance to see each other before we flew home, and it like wore me down. Like, I was on the verge of tears for like 48 hours straight. Like, I was like so stressed, I was so sad. I felt like every little thing was bringing tears to my eyes. And normally before I get my period, I'm not that emotional. Like, I may be crabby or like cranky, like we all are, but I'm not usually that like sad or weepy. And it was the weepiness that was making me feel unlike myself. There was even a period of time when, so when we split up to see our families and my sister went to go see her family, I was waiting for my dad and my stepmom to still land in Atlanta. And so I was in our hotel for like 4 hours or 3 hours or something by myself because I was waiting for them to get there. And I was sobbing. I called Jordan sobbing, and I was just like so lonely. And it was, I mean, it was like I had been by myself for like an hour, and I was catching up on work, and I was like, you know, doing things on the computer, and I was keeping myself entertained, but for whatever reason, like that feeling of being alone in a hotel room was really, really hard for me. And I called him sobbing, like hysterically crying, and he like talked me down. He was so great about it. But then the next day when the hurricane came and I was still really weepy even with my family, that's when I started to think like, okay, could something bigger be going on? And it's so funny because Jordan, the whole time, he was very much like, you know, whatever happens, happens, no pressure, don't work yourself up. Like, he didn't really like how much of a planner I was. He didn't really like how much I was following my calendar and all that stuff, because he's just like, you know, when it happens, it happens. But as a woman, when it's our bodies, we want to know when it's happening, at least in my mind. But that weekend, he kept texting me and he'd be like, did you get your period yet? Which is such a strange question to ask. But he would be like, did you get it yet? And I'm like, nope, it hasn't come. And he would be like, oh, well, and I'm like, no, it's nothing. I'm sure it'll come soon. And I remember there was one conversation where I said that and he was like, you know, did you get it yet? And I was like, no, but like, I think I'm just emotional because my period's coming. It'll be fine, like whatever. I'm not gonna get my hopes up. And he was like, and he sent me that little emoji of the woman, like the pregnant woman with her bump. And he was like, and I was like, no, I'm not letting myself think that. I didn't want to get my hopes up. But then like towards the last day, so I was 2 days late and I still hadn't gotten it, and I was just feeling so unlike myself, so emotional. I just felt like unstable almost. Not unstable, that's dramatic, but I felt more emotional than I ever felt before over little things like that. Like normally a flight change, fine. Like I could stay in Atlanta if I needed to. It's not the biggest deal. But for whatever reason, it was like really upsetting me. And I was on the plane on my way back and I texted him and I was like, part of me thinks I could be pregnant just because I'm so emotional. Like my emotions are what's making me think that, nothing else. So I came back from Atlanta and we were like, all right, I know that like if you want a positive test or if you want a really clear test, you need to take it with like that first morning's bathroom trip. So I took the test first thing the next morning and we got a positive. And I don't think I have the actual test here anymore, but the positive was like a very, very faint line. And I was like, is that it? Like, I don't know. I've never seen a positive pregnancy test. So is that what that is? And then I checked back a couple hours later and the line had developed more and it was like clearly 2 lines. But I still like wasn't allowing myself to think that. So I waited till the next day and I took another test and it was still positive. And I called the doctors and I was like, do I need to come in and confirm this? And she's like, no, actually the pregnancy tests are so accurate these days that if you're getting a positive, you don't need to come in and confirm it. We'll just set up your 7-week appointment. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I can't like go to the doctors and confirm it until I'm 7 weeks along. And right now, I don't even know what I am. I was thinking I'm 2 weeks in because my period's, you know, supposed to come. So I'm 2 weeks after we conceived. That's not the way it works though, actually. So I didn't realize they count the 2 weeks before you conceive too. But so in my mind, I'm like, how does this work? So I kept taking tests, hence all of these bad boys that I still have. And they are all very, very clearly marked pregnant. I keep them all in my nightstand because I haven't felt the baby kick yet. Obviously, I haven't like felt anything other than cramps. My stomach's getting bigger, but and we have ultrasounds now too, but these were like my first reminder or my first notification that we conceived and that we made a baby, and it's like so special. And Jordan thinks it's so gross. He calls them my pee sticks, but I'm like, no, this is proof of our baby. I need to hold on to them. So I kept taking tests. I think I took about 7 tests before I actually saw the doctors. I saw the doctors at 7 weeks pregnant. We got the first ultrasound. We heard the heartbeat. Everything was super healthy and great. And then before my next appointment, I still took more tests because I just wanted to be sure. So I think all in all, I took like 10 tests total. Now, obviously, I'm feeling much more like settled. I'm starting to get a little bit of a belly, not a lot. It's like a bloat belly. But I'm getting a belly and it's hard, and I've seen the baby, and we've seen the baby wave, and we've seen the sonogram and the heartbeat multiple times, and I feel much more confident now. But at first I was just like, I need to keep double checking every single day to make sure I'm still pregnant. But yeah, so that is the story, the very long-winded, rambly story of how we found out that we're pregnant. A weekend to Atlanta turned into the best news I've ever received in my entire life, and now I'm gonna cry because I'm so emotional because I'm pregnant. It was really special though, and I know you guys have heard me talk about before a couple times how I got in a really bad car accident a couple years ago. It was like by far the hardest physical thing I've ever had to go through in my life, and I remember having, when I was in Atlanta, I had like the 2-year anniversary of the accident. And normally on the anniversary of the accident, I really like to do something big. Like last year we went zip lining when it was 1 year later. Like this year I wanted to do something big, and you know, it was a weekend with my girls. We just were focused on other things. So I didn't really do anything to celebrate the anniversary of making it out alive from the accident. And I think that was partially one of the reasons I was so emotional. Like whenever the anniversary of my car accident comes around, I get really emotional because it just is such a reminder how precious life is. And then to come home and get that news that I'm making a life, and that it's 2 years later from when I feel like I got mine back and now I'm making a new one, is just like so special. I told you guys, my emotions are going crazy in a way they have never gone crazy before. All right, but that's it. I'm gonna wrap up now because I've been talking forever. But I just wanted to share our story with you guys and just have it on here too. That's how we found out we were pregnant. A fun weekend in Atlanta. And oh, and side note, I don't know if any of you guys saw my vlog from the summer when we went to Joshua Tree and we had like our desert getaway, and I did my desert lookbook and stuff. But that's where we made our baby. So we know that like that's the trip where we conceived our baby, which I don't know if that's TMI, but to me that is really, really cool because it makes that trip so much more special. Like we know that we made a human that way. So yeah, so that's my story. If you are pregnant or expecting or have kids, leave me yours. I would love to hear your story. If you have any crazy stories, if you just have sweet stories, any of that stuff, tell me how you guys found out. And I would love to hear from you and just hear your updates as well. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will be back soon with more baby stuff and fashion stuff and all that good stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.